Picture this. In the shadowed halls of a Jericho palace, the air hangs heavy with the fetid reek of festering wounds, where a tyrant's body betrays him like a crumbling fortress, pus weeping from sores that no gold can heal. His crown was already his coffin, and that night would scar an empire. Hit subscribe now, 80% miss history's bloody secrets? Drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Now, let us begin. Herod the Great, architect of Judea's marble wonders, clutched his bleeding crown as decay gnawed at his throne from within. Once a king draped in decaying gold, his ambition had forged temples and fortresses. But now, in the winter of 4 BCE, his flesh rebelled in a symphony of agony. Legends whisper of divine retribution for his slaughter of innocents, that infamous decree to murder Bethlehem's babes in a bid to crush a prophesied rival. But history etches the truth. Herod's body swelled with edema, his skin splitting like overripe fruit under the weight of his rotting ambition. His physicians, trembling before his paranoia, prescribed baths in hot oil, yet the itch burrowed deeper, a flesh-tearing torment that clawed at his sanity. 90% don't know this bloody secret, but you're about to uncover it. Herod's psychological insight lay in his unquenchable delusion of threats everywhere. Brothers, wives, sons executed in fits of crimson-soaked madness, his court a graveyard of betrayed kin. One vivid sensory detail, his crown pulsed with every heartbeat, imagined enemies whispering through its jewels, while the real foe festered in his bowels, twisting like rusted chains. The haunting irony? He who built Herodium as an impregnable tomb lived to see his own form as a living crypt, chained to a bed where no fortress could shield him from the crawling hand of death. His throne was a gilded grave, they murmured in shadowed corridors. Power's price is paid in pus and screams. But the cruelty had only just begun. As fever raged, Herod ordered the arrest of Judea's nobles, commanding their slaughter upon his death to ensure mourning wails drowned any joy. His paranoia mirrors today's surveillance states, where leaders spy on shadows, eroding empires from within. Then came the extreme shock. In a gore-heavy frenzy, his genitals putrefied, worms writhing in the gangrene, blood spraying as attendants lanced boils, bones cracking under swollen limbs in flesh-ripping agony. What happened next defies imagination. His sister Salome defied the order, freeing the nobles as Herod gasped his last, his legacy already ash before he drew his final breath. Ambition rots faster than flesh, the scribes etched in stone. His bleeding crown, once a symbol of iron rule, now echoed in the empty halls, a motif of power's inevitable hemorrhage. What would you do in his place, facing such soul-crushing betrayal from your own body? Comment below and hit that like button if this chills you. Was his madness justified, or was he doomed from birth? Vote in the poll above. Rotting flesh awakens. Henry VIII, the once golden lion of England, prowled his Whitehall chambers like a wounded beast, his bleeding crown slipping in the sweat of impending doom. By January 1547, after 38 years of reshaping realms and severing heads, his body had become a bloated monument to indulgence, legs ulcerated and oozing like cracked earthenware. History records his jousting accident in 1536 as the spark, a fall that shattered his thigh, birthing chronic wounds that no Tudor physician could staunch. But legends whisper of syphilis's slow poison, gnawing at his vitality like rats in a crypt. His court, once alive with feasts and flirtations, now recoiled from the stench, attendants masking noses with perfumed cloths as they hoisted his massive frame onto horses with mechanical cranes. Fast-paced beats surged. He dissolved monasteries, amassing gold that decayed in his grasp, while his sixth wife, Catherine Parr, nursed him through rages. One psychological insight, his delusion of divine right twisted into tyrannical paranoia, executing counselors like Thomas Cromwell for imagined treasons. A vivid sensory detail, his crown pulsed with every labored breath, the gold heavy as stone on a brow furrowed with pain, while pus-soaked bandages clung like second skin. The haunting irony? He who broke with Rome to sire heirs died childless in the male line that mattered, his daughters ascending amid the ruins he wrought. His sceptre dripped with the blood of wives and whispers. Power's feast ends in famine of the soul. But the cruelty had only just begun. 90% don't know this bloody secret, but you're about to uncover it. As winter deepened, Henry's renal failure swelled his limbs to bursting, liver betraying him in a cascade of toxins. His paranoia echoes modern autocrats, hoarding control until it crushes them. Then the extreme shock. Blood sprayed as ulcers burst during a dressing change, bones cracking under his weight as he roared in flesh-ripping agony, attendants slipping in the crimson pool. What happened next defies imagination. He dictated his will from bed, pardoning none but scheming for his son Edward's regency, his voice a gravelly thunder amid gasps. Legacy is but ash in a tyrant's mouth. The bleeding crown motif repeated, its jewels dulled by the king's fading gaze, symbolizing empire's hemorrhage through excess. What would you do in his place, bloated and betrayed by flesh? Comment below and hit that like button if this chills you. Was his indulgence a path to power or inevitable downfall? Vote in the poll above. Bloated throne crumbles. Charles VI of France, the mad monarch whose bleeding crown fractured a kingdom, wandered the Louvre's halls like a ghost in gilded chains. Ascending in 1380 at age 11, he ruled amid the Hundred Years' War, but by 1392, madness struck like a thunderbolt. Fever, convulsions, and a psychotic break that saw him slay 4 knights in a crimson frenzy before being chained down. History verifies 44 episodes over 3 decades, likely schizophrenia or porphyria, turning court into a theater of delusion. Legends add the glass delusion, where he believed his body fragile as crystal, sewing iron rods into clothes to prevent shattering, refusing baths for months until filth crusted like decaying gold. Action beats accelerated, factions warred, the Armagnacs and Burgundians tearing France apart, while Charles howled in isolation. One psychological insight: his paranoia bred endless suspicion, attacking his brother Louis in fits of soul-crushing betrayal. A vivid sensory detail, his crown pulsed with every hallucinated shatter, the metal cold against sweat-slicked skin, while unwashed stench filled rooms like a plague. The haunting irony, he who danced at the infamous Bal des Ardents, where costumes ignited, killing nobles, survived to burn his realm in madness's flames. His mind was a shattered mirror, reflecting only shadows. Thrones crack under the weight of unseen chains. But the cruelty had only just begun. 90% don't know this bloody secret, but you're about to uncover it. England's Henry V exploited his lapses, invading at Agincourt, where French blood soaked fields. His madness parallels today's mental health crises in leaders, where unchecked illness topples nations. Then the extreme shock. In one gore-heavy rage, he lunged at attendants, flesh tearing as chains bit into wrists, screams painting walls in spittle and blood. What happened next defies imagination. By 1422, death came quietly in neglect, his body wasted, France partitioned by treaty, his son Charles VII fighting to reclaim a broken dynasty. Madness devours kings as worms devour flesh. The bleeding crown, rusted and forgotten, echoed in the Civil War's din, a motif of power's fragile bleed. What would you do in his place, trapped in a glass prison of the mind? Comment below and hit that like button if this chills you. Was his delusion a curse or a kingdom's undoing? Vote in the poll above. Shattered mind reigns. Prince Sado of Joseon, heir to a throne stained with filial blood, clutched his bleeding crown in the sweltering July of 1762, sealed in a rice chest by his father's decree. History unfolds the tragedy. Born in 1735, Sado's mental illness, likely bipolar disorder, escalated into violence, murdering courtiers and eunuchs in paranoid rages. His court, a slaughterhouse of crimson-soaked madness. King Yongzhou, torn by Confucian duty, stripped him of title and ordered him into the wooden prison to starve without spilling royal blood. Legends murmur of Sardo's pleas echoing through palace walls, a son's betrayal by the very hand that sired him. Beats pounded relentlessly. Sardo's rampages included burying victims alive, his ambition rotting under paternal scorn. One psychological insight: his delusion of inadequacy fueled a cycle of abuse, mirroring Yongzhou's own harsh upbringing. A vivid sensory detail: the crown pulsed with every muffled heartbeat inside the chest, rice grains shifting like sand in an hourglass of doom. The haunting irony? He who was groomed for rule died like a common criminal, unchained yet imprisoned by blood ties. His heritage was a noose of silk and sorrow. Dynasties break on the backs of broken sons. Betrayal blooms in the Garden of Thrones. But the cruelty had only just begun. 90% don't know this bloody secret, but you're about to uncover it. For 8 days in blistering heat, dehydration ravaged him, his cries weakening to whispers. This punishment reflects modern familial tyrannies, where power poisons bonds. Then the extreme shock, flesh-ripping agony as cramps seized his limbs, blood from bitten tongue spraying the chest's interior in a final silent scream. What happened next defies imagination. On the 8th day, silence fell. His body, retrieved and buried, left Yongzhou haunted, the dynasty scarred. Now in this wind down, the bleeding crown rusts to dust, its motif a reminder that power's hemorrhage spares no lineage. From Herod's worms to Sardo's suffocation, empires crumble under decay's weight. What price do we pay for power today when leaders' frailties echo these horrors? Drop your thoughts below. Subscribe for more bloody truths, and ring the bell to never miss a whisper from the archive. Filial prison closes.